So now the main part of today's meeting is to have some time with Carol. Carol Gillespie is the Executive Director. And Carol, thank you for taking time. I know our club meetings are on Sunday evenings. This is not the right time, but this is the time that everybody likes. So we have these dates and times going this way. So taking time and coming to us, our meeting, and then talking about an amazing activity that you have been there for, almost like 20, 30, 40 years, driving these things. So it's really appreciative of your time. And then we are looking to learn a lot from, this talk from you about what AADP is, and then what is the problem that we are trying to solve to benefit others and to make this world a better place. And I know Sim Gopalan for almost 30 some years. So I know he's very active in this program too. So we welcome you wholeheartedly to this Rotary Club of Silicon Andhra meeting today. So Carol, glad to have you. Please take it forward, and we welcome you. And I will be going through your slides as you want us to go through. Carol, you probably have to unmute yourself, please.
There we go. Well, hello, everyone. Sunday seems to work fine for me as well, so I'm glad everybody showed up. I hope everybody had a wonderful day. And I thank you very much, Sim and the Rotary Club, for inviting me here today to talk about the Asian American Donor Program and what it means to be a stem cell donor and how you in the audience can help. Next slide. Asian American Donor Program is a nonprofit 501c3 organization working with Be the Match Registry. Actually, we're celebrating our 30th year this year in October, so we're super excited about that. Be the Match is the stem cell registry for the United States. It is the database of potential stem cell donors. When someone's diagnosed with leukemia, they will look in this registry to find a matching donor. Be the Match is connected also to the World Marrow Donor Association, which searches all registries in the world. So you don't have to be just in the United States. You can be anywhere in the world to be a potential match. Next slide. Asian American Donor Program is dedicated to increasing the availability of potential stem cell donors for patients with life-threatening diseases curable with a stem cell transplant. We do this by educating the community about the need for a more diverse registry. One thing you'll hear me mention throughout this entire presentation is that ethnicity is the key in finding a compatible donor. Next slide. AADP started way back in 1989 as a volunteer group. There are two people in the community that were in need of a stem cell donor. One was 8-month-old Amanda Chang, Chinese, and another woman, Judith Jang Berkowitz, who was 32 years old at the time. When they looked in the registry for a donor, they found that there were only 123 Asians in the registry, and they knew that they would not find a donor in the current registry. So they called us and asked us to help do some recruitment in the community. So AADP set up drives in the Chinese community for months, registering over 2,000 donors. Back then, registering was much more difficult. We had to hire a phlebotomist. We had to draw 3 tubes of blood from each donor. And then the donor had to complete this really long consent form. It was very cumbersome. We also had to host fundraising events to cover the cost of the tissue typing. Times have certainly changed now. We no longer draw blood. We just use the cheek swab to register, and the consent form is online. Unfortunately, both Amanda and Judith were unable to find a donor, and they both passed away. However, their campaign did give birth to Asian American Donor Program. Next slide. AADP is currently the only recruitment group in Northern California for Be the Match. There were two groups at one time, a Hispanic, Latinx, and African American Black recruitment group, but both didn't have the support in the community, and so they folded. So knowing there is a great need for donors in the community, AADP expanded their outreach and educational efforts to include all people of color. We have team members that look and represent the communities we serve. They speak the language, they develop the culturally appropriate materials, and they are part of the community. Next slide. We still don't know what causes blood cancer. I mean, I think we all can guess what might do it, but we still don't know. But we do know that every 3 minutes, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Next slide. Cancer doesn't discriminate either. Our patients come from all ethnicities, ages, backgrounds, and social standings, but they do have one thing in common. They all need a donor to help save their life because they don't have a match within their family. Next slide. Their only hope for long-term survival is a stem cell transplant, but they need to find that compatible donor first in order to have the transplant, and that's the hard part. Next slide. Because you inherit your HLA antigens from your parents, they would only be a 50% match at best. Siblings have about a 25% chance of matching each other. So most patients will need to look at the Be the Match registry for an unrelated donor to give them that second chance at life. Next slide. There are some antigens that are only found in certain communities. For example, there are antigens that are found in the Vietnamese community that you would never find in the Korean community, so they wouldn't match. I work with this woman as an example, and she thought that she was 100% Caucasian. So she couldn't figure out why she couldn't find a match in the registry. Well, she had her HLA analyzed and she discovered that she was a quarter Native American. She was totally shocked. She had no idea that her family had Native American blood. So she needed a multi-ethnic donor to help save her life, and that changed her entire strategy or outreach efforts. So she needed a Native American and white mixed donor. So it goes to show you that every person is unique. Our founder, Jonathan Leong, always says there's no such thing as an Asian. You're either Chinese, Indian, Korean, whatever. Therefore, patients will most likely match someone within their own heritage. However, this is a really big problem. Next slide. As you can see, the registry is largely made up of white donors, 77% there, which is great for them. 85% of the white patients will find at least one perfect match. Other ethnicities do not have that luxury. It is not uncommon for a white patient to have 200 potential matches or more. People from other communities will most likely have none or one. And with further testing, that one potential donor could turn out to be not a good match. So they would end up with 0 and have to go back to the drawing board. Next slide. Oh, I think I'm one ahead of myself. Let's go back. Yeah. Let's see. Like I said before, there's no such thing as, oh no, let me just go back here. The health disparity must change. Look at Black and African American here. These patients have little hope of finding a donor in the current registry, and they are dying unnecessarily. They only have a 23% chance of finding a donor in the current registry, but this can and must change. Like I said before, there's no such thing as an Asian. So let's break this down a little more. South Asians have about a 33% chance of finding a donor. I'm sorry, Southeast Asians have a 33% chance of finding a donor. South Asians Indians have a 38%. Overall, the Asian community has a 41% chance of finding a donor. it's really just a numbers game. The bigger and the more diverse the registry is, the better chance patients have of finding a donor. We truly need to just diversify that registry, get as many people as we can of diverse heritage to register, because the cure is in you. Next slide. So this is a great little video. Do you have the video clip here? Can you click on that? I think that this just kind of spells it out a little bit more. I think the link is, yeah, there we go. Let's take a listen.
Okay, then I would have to stop share and then come back again 1 second.
Okay.
Humans excel at adapting in the big world. We adapted in the small world too. In our cells and deep in our genes. Right there on chromosome 6. The human leukocyte antigen system. HLA. Everyone has a unique and complex HLA system, a legacy from our ancient ancestors who migrated across continents, accumulating variation in their genes, adapting to changing environments. All the variation has made the immune system complex, and why it can be tough to find a match for someone who needs a transplant. The stem cells that produce all the red and white cells get replaced, so a close match is needed to avoid rejection. To find a match, we start with family. Here's how it works. Your gene system has 46 chromosomes. You inherit 23 from dad and 23 from mom. 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs, that's your DNA. One pair of chromosomes contain the HLA genes. And since we get half our genes from dad and half from mom, we can have 4 possible combinations. Like this. And this is why there is a 1 in 4 chance, 25%, of matching one of your siblings. These are the possible genotypes. This is what a sibling match looks like. You can see that not many patients will have a match in their family, and that's why we need a lot of people, millions of people, in Be the Match donor registry. To match a patient with a donor, scientists look at these 5 markers: A, C, B, DR, and DQ. This is an example of matching your brother or sister, a sibling match. Another example shows 9 of 10. It's close, but not the best match. What about a person not related to us? Now it gets more complicated. There are so many versions of the 5 important HLA genes, and they can arrange in different combinations, but it can still be a match. When our immune system needs to be replaced, doctors move fast. They look for the minimum matching requirements and then refine the search to find the best potential donor. Our immune system, a legacy inherited from our ancestors, unique and complex, now deciphered by the bioinformatics scientists at Be the Match, working to improve outcomes for stem cell transplantation by making the match using the human leukocyte antigen system, potential donor. HLA. Our immune system, a legacy inherited from our ancestors, unique and complex, now deciphered by the bioinformatics scientists. For stem cell transplantation by making a match using a refine the search to find the best potential donor. HLA, our immune system, a legacy inherited from our ancestors, complex, now deciphered by the bioinformatics science.
Let's go to the next slide.
For stem cell transplantation by making a match using a refine the search
Thank you.
to find the best potential donor.
Facebook is the video is still running in the background.
Yeah, somebody, okay, 1 second, 1 second.
Okay. Great, thank you. Now you know that we recruit for the Be the Match registry, but how do we do this and how have we been doing it for the past 30 years? Storytelling is a major tool we use to disseminate information in the community. We want the community to relate to the patient so that they will be encouraged to register. Maybe even identify with the patient. If you look at somebody and you can say, wow, she's a mom, I'm a mom too. I'm fortunate that I'm not experiencing this, but it could be my child. We create and manage Facebook pages for patients. This is a perfect place for everyone to go to get information about upcoming drives, how we can help other people, and how to see how the person is doing, ask questions, send positive thoughts, suggestions, ideas. You know, just about anything can be done on Facebook with a good network. This is the quickest way for us to manage, to send our message out, but we also use the media. Next slide. Here are a few examples of some of the flyers that we create. As you can see, they're just as individual as the patients that we serve. We provide video, flyers, translated materials if need be, and we help bring this patient's story to life. We try to make them as attractive as possible. Next slide. We host outreach and registration events, mainly tabling, also presentations and special events. We partner with schools, universities, corporations, community festivals or leaders, clubs and places of worship where we can engage people between the ages of 18 and 44. Next slide. Those interested in saving a life and meet the health guidelines can register online using their phone or their computer by texting AADP to 61474 or by going to our website, aadp.org, and just requesting a home kit, and that gets mailed out the same day. Once their registration is done, they can swab the inside of their cheek using the swab that's provided and just pop it in the mail. Next slide. Their swab kit is then sent to the Be the Match biorepository. Their HLA antigens are identified and entered into the registry. Their antigens are searched every day from the transplant centers all over the world to see if they're a match for a patient in need. This is truly a global effort because you could match anyone in the world. Look at all those happy people swabbing. Next slide. If you're found to be a match, Be the Match will contact you and give you the wonderful news that you've matched somebody in need. They will go over your health history in detail and make sure that you're healthy enough to donate. You'll be asked to have some blood drawn at like a blood bank, and the transplant center will do their own tissue typing to make sure that you are indeed the best match for this patient. Then you'll have not quite yet. Then you'll have a complete physical, and we want to make sure that you're physically able. Then if the donor is ready to have the collection happen and the patient is ready, then they'll be asked to either donate bone marrow or stem cells. The doctor will determine the product, what product is best for the patient. Now the next slide. Many of you remember this procedure maybe when bone marrow is extracted. This still happens, but it's less often. Maybe 25% of the requests will be for bone marrow collection. If the doctor selects this method, it is probably for a child because there's just a little bit of a product there. There's not as much with peripheral blood stem cells. You'd go into the hospital for the day, go under general anesthetic or local in some cases. The procedure takes about 45 minutes to an hour in the operating room in a sterile environment. About 5 needles are injected into the back of your hip bone, just as the picture shows here, and where the marrow is collected. You'll wake up, you'll feel sore, achy, kind of black and blue in that local area, and that tenderness could last about a week to a week and a half. Your marrow naturally regenerates itself, so it'll be completely replaced in about 4 weeks. And most people go back to work, let's say 2 or 3 days later. I know some people that went back to work the next day. Not advised, but some people are stronger than others. Next slide. Peripheral blood stem cells, or PBSC, is collected, is the most common collection now. It's about 75% of the collection is PBSC, and that's given to adults because we can collect a lot of stem cells. You'll receive an injection of filgrastim every day in your arm for 5 days in a row. The most common symptoms are maybe headache and bone aches and pains, but these symptoms go away as soon as the collection happens. Filgrastim stimulates the growth of the stem cells. It mass produces them and allows them to be released in your bloodstream, like the blood in your veins in your arms. On the last day of the injection, the donor is connected to a blood separating machine with a needle in both arms. The blood is drawn from one arm, and then the stem cells go into a separate bag because the machine is separating them. The stem cells fall into a separate bag, and the rest of your blood products go back in your other arm. So you're literally missing nothing except for what was mass produced by the filgrastim. Look at this guy. He's got a smile on his face. He can't be hurting too bad. Procedure takes about 6 hours, and then you get to go home. Everybody is working during the shot series, and you can go back to work the next day after this collection happens. That's it. Next slide, yeah. As I said before, most of our educational presentation and recruitment events are done in the community face-to-face. We like to take our time to talk to people, educate them about the need for donors and who needs them. After all, we're looking for committed donors. They could be on the registry from 1 year to 15 years, or if ever, they'll be called to help. So we want to make sure that they're committed. We are unable to educate the community in this way right now because we're practicing social distancing. The whole world is, corporate employees are working from home, students are online, and places of worship are just not gathering. So all of our education and presentations are online like this, where people can fit us in and we can educate them. Next slide. Patients who are depending on the registry for a life-saving donor are worried about the lack of recruitment opportunities right now. They call us all the time asking if we have any events coming up because they know that those donors are going to go into the registry and they could potentially help them ultimately. They worry about going to the hospital or clinic for chemo treatment. Remember, these are immune compromised people, and they'll be entering a hospital with where COVID patients are. I know everybody's taking all the best precautions, but it's still a worry for them. And they have to go alone. Their family members aren't typically allowed in right now to the hospital. It's a major concern for them, and the infection could kill them. They worry about the donor. What if they found a donor, the donor's ready to go, but COVID is just making them a little hesitant about going in and having the collection or the procedure done. And that patient may be running out of time. So there's a lot of worries that they have besides the fact that they have a blood cancer. Next slide. Let me introduce you to a few patients that we're currently working with. Veer, he's on the left there, he's just 3 years old. He's South Asian. He lives in the UK, and he has been diagnosed with Fanconi anemia. Estella is 35 years old. She's a Korean woman, mom of a 2-year-old adopted son and a wife. She was unable to find a donor, so they used her brother's stem cells for the transplant. It's called a haploid identical transplant. Not the best match, 50%. But she was really running out of time, so they used her stem cells. But she has relapsed, and now she needs an unrelated donor to help save her life. And Andrew here on the right-hand side, he is 29 years old. He's a Chinese man. He was just engaged, and he woke up one morning, and he found that his neck was swollen, so he decided to go to the doctor, and they diagnosed him with leukemia. This is just a small example of patients that we're currently working with. In the US, we have over 12,000 patients at any given time that are looking for a matching donor. Next slide. Everyone can help in any way they can. The opportunities really are limitless. Next slide. The only way AADP can help people in your community is for you to help us. If you're between the ages of 18 and 44 and you're willing, I'd highly encourage you to become a marrow donor and get on the registry. You can also help spread the word. You can ask your place of business to host a drive. Right now it's going to be virtual. Hopefully when the world opens up, we can come and visit you in person. You can ask your priest, pastor, or leader of your place of worship to invite us to come and host a drive. You can connect with us socially by sharing our posts on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn. You can also participate in our fundraisers or make financial donations. We have a golf tournament that's coming up in October, on October 5th, and a comedy show in March. Next slide. This is just, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what online registering looks like right now. It's super easy. You can do it from the comfort of your living room, sitting on your couch. You just text AADP to 61474. And if you're home, you can, like I said, register from your home, and then a kit will be sent to you. You can, next slide, please. And if you're at a live event, you can do the online registration, but then we'll have a kit available for you right there. Don't worry, we're available to guide you through the whole process if you get stuck at any point. I think that's it. Next slide. Thank you very much. I hope that you learned a little bit about the Asian American Donor Program, what we do, and how you can help. I want you to please feel free to call the office. We're open at 800-593-6667. And my email, I should have put it on here, is Carol, C-A-R-O-L, @aadp.org. Or you can hit us up on social media. So I want to thank you again very much for allowing me to speak today. And I certainly look forward to working with everybody in the future. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions?
Carol, thank you. Thank you very much, Carol. Really appreciate it. So I have a couple of questions, and then, we will open it up for, other members here to ask questions. So question one is, why only 18 to 44? Yes.
So, yeah, like everything else in your body, as you get older, things start to break down. So they say that there's a better outcome for the recipient if the donor is younger. So it's all recipient based. So our cells aren't probably as great as they once were when we were 20. So it's because it's better for the recipient.
Okay, and one more question I have is, how do I know if I am part of the registry or not?
Well, if you register here in California, you can just email me, Carol @aadp.org, and I can check to see if you're on the registry, or you can contact Be the Match, and all their information is on the website, and they'll look your information up and make sure that it's current. So that's a good call out too. If you've already registered and you probably have moved once or twice or have a new telephone number, it's very important that we get a hold of you as quick as possible. So please update your information. So
there are a lot of questions. So I'll have one more question, and then I will hand it over to other folks. Maithili will ask next question. So I believe I did, register to this, and I actually have received a call. Maybe it was like 3-4 years ago once. Okay, there was only one call, and then I said, I'm very much willing to do it, and they said they would call me back, and nothing happened after that. Okay, so I do not know what has happened. Okay, and the second thing is, when that call happened, I probably was, fitting in that range. Now I am no longer in that range. So what happens? Do they usually take us off the list now that you are older than that range, or what happens?
Well, you stay on the registry until you're 61 years old. So if you're a match between 45 and 61 and you're the only match or a very good match, then they're going to call you and ask you to donate. So they don't kick you off until after you're 61.
Okay, so I still have a chance to do something good.
Yeah, exactly. But in your case, because they called you once, Okay, be the match isn't the best about following up. Keep in mind that they have a lot of potential donors. So like I said, with that Caucasian patient, there's 200 potential donors. They will call every one of those 200 people up. But they have to look at your health history a little bit more, and then look at your additional blood sample to see if you're a perfect match. So just because they call you doesn't mean you're a perfect match. So they didn't call you back probably because in the meantime, they did find somebody who was a perfect match. Let's hope that was the case rather than the patient passing.
Okay, so Maithili, go ahead.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Did someone else say something?
No, go ahead, Maithili. We'll go to the next person next. Yeah.
Well, part of my question was answered because I too have registered myself years ago. I was definitely much younger then. But you said I'll be technically on the registry till I'm about 61 years old. Now, one question I had was, you know, being current, you know, with all the data too, because a lot of things could have developed health-wise, you know, for me too, from when I first gave my swab. Should I re-register or like redo a swab? How does that, you know, would that affect, you know, going in, like if something came up with me and maybe I'm not able to donate stem cells anymore at one point in my life because maybe I need to keep them for myself, you know, with my health condition or whatever comes up, or you know, whoever is donating, you know, how does that work?
So once you're on the registry, you're on until you're 61 and you do not need to register again. So save that money for somebody else. But, you know, if they call you as a potential donor, they'll do a complete health history before they ask you to donate. So believe me, you'll have an opportunity to talk about your health history with the physician who does a complete physical and the person
that do blood testing too before, like if you are a potential match.
They will do the health history questionnaire first, and if you are not eliminated, then they will draw a blood sample, but they'll only do infectious disease marker testing, and they will repeat the HLA testing. So if you have a health condition that you think is important for them to know, or you should disclose it all, then you should do that, and then they'll evaluate you at that point.
Right. Okay. Good to know.
Thank you. And next question is Sonia ji. Go ahead, please. Unmute yourself and speak.
Carol, my question is, do we have to travel to do the donate?
Oh, that's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. So the answer is probably. So it doesn't mean that you will not be traveling to the recipient's place, whether, you know, state or city. But here in California, there are only so many beds available. So you will most likely have to travel somewhere in California, or they'll send you to, say, Arizona or somewhere else, wherever there's a bed available. So 9 chances out of 10, the answer is yes. They pay for your airfare and your hotel. They also pay for a loved one to come with you for support. So you get a mini vacation.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That is like one of the questions that I had in my mind. Part of it has already been covered, but yeah, it's a lot of good information today.
Great. And Sneha Garu, you are next, madam.
Okay, so Carol, this is not a question, but I just wanted to share that 10 years back, I was, you know, after the cheek swab, I was called, and then I was a match for a, you know, a patient, and I did a blood test and a 3-level physical checkup. But at the final stage, when I signed up for the bone marrow transplant, the condition of the patient was not stable and they decided not to, or something. And I have been on the list, and 5 years back, I was again called, but they found another match. So I just wanted to share that most of the South Asians, you know, have that misconception at the cheek swab level itself, and they do not understand, because, and I think that this, something like this would create awareness among, because most of the, I'd been to a walkathon, and that's where I did the cheek swab. And from there, this whole thing started, and I was almost there, but I guess, but anyway, but I did feel good about it. Yeah.
You know, you brought up a very important message there. you were trying to do everything you could to be a good donor or to match or whatever, but the patient was unable to receive your cells. So this is why it's important to build the registry of these potential diverse donors. So when a patient is diagnosed, a donor can be identified right away, so they don't have to wait until their disease progresses to the point where they're no longer eligible for a transplant. So you brought up a good point. Thank you.
Quick question one more time. If I do want to check and see if I'm still on the list or my status of that, where would I contact?
So if you were tested here in California, the quickest way probably would be to contact me, Carol, C-A-R-O-L, at aadp.org. Or you can just look up Be the Match on the web and give them a call and ask them to look it up for you.
Okay, yeah.
That might take a little bit longer, but it's direct.
But are you, if I emailed you, do you have access to like their database too?
Only the people in California.
Okay, I mean, I did register here. I mean, I haven't gone out of California my whole life, so I'll try emailing you then and see if
Okay,
we
great.
can work together, and if not, I'll go with Be the Match.
And we have one question from Priya Garu too. Priya Garu, go ahead, please.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for your time. So my quick question was like, how in a year, how many times can a donor actually do this kind of, come forward and be eligible? And the follow-up question to this is like, if it is more than once, is there an employment support or any kind of a government support that's coming up saying that like if you go for an election voting, it says it's a excused kind of an absence, right? So is this covered under that?
So you would be lucky if you matched one person in your lifetime. If you matched more than one person in a year, it would be a small miracle. So you'd be fortunate to match one person in your lifetime. But let's say you do match someone, you can donate again to a different person one more time. So you can only donate twice to two different people, and then Be the Match takes you off the registry. I'm sure that's because there's health concerns for you as a donor. Your second question, I forgot it.
About support for employment.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we lobbied in Sacramento, and so now California has a program called SB, I think it's 1304, that if you work for a company with more than 50 employees, you don't have to exhaust your vacation or your sick time, but the company has to give you the time off to donate. Did I answer that question?
Yes, wonderful. That's actually very important to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So Red Cross doesn't allow South Asian to donate blood if they have traveled to a country which is malaria exposed. So any restrictions like that in your case?
Certainly not to register, but if you come up as a donor, they will go through your entire travel and health history. I think that they're a lot more lenient actually with bone marrow and stem cell than they are with blood donation, but they would still look at that. So that would be an important thing to bring up if you're called as a donor.
So, Carol, thank you. Anybody else have any more questions? We can probably take one more question if anybody has it. If not, we have an in-house expert here, Sim Gopalan, who is part of our club, and he's the co-chair for community services. He has been doing great work, with the AADP for last 20 some years. So we can always reach out to him, and he can probably bump us up in the list and get us to be a match for somebody. So help us. So one question I have for both Carol or Sim, what would be meaningful for us, from the Rotary Club of Silkanandra, if we have to do something on our part to bring more people to register with you? What is that? Is it 50 people, new registrants, or 100? What would make a difference?
What do you think, Sim?
That's what I was thinking about that 20 a month, especially during the COVID time.
Yeah.
See, if it had been a non-COVID time, of course, we run drives, right? We have opportunity to run drives almost every weekend, multiple drives in the weekend. So there we can expect more people, especially because during this period, like Carol mentioned already, it is going to be a big challenge reaching out to everybody in this. So I think 20 per month would really be a reasonable one at this period. And so if it is non-COVID time, I would go for 50 per month. And Priya, one question you brought up as to, as one bigger challenge we have in our community to reach out, I mean, in general, in most communities is when you talk to people, the first thing they come up and say is, okay, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, right? This is a really, really lesser known cause. So I say, let me go home, research on this and come back. But you know what? The moment they step out, it just gets off their mind. So they don't research and they don't come back on this. So that's a huge challenge I have seen in all the drives I have done. Now I started running drives in '93. I think Raju probably registered at that time. Carol, Raju probably was one of the registrants in my very first drive where we used to draw blood then at that time. So since then I've been on this cause, and since 2011, I've been very closely associated. Then that is when I came to know of AADP and Carol. And since then I've been working with Carol, and we have done several drives, almost a couple drives every weekend on most months and years now. So the challenge, every time I talk to 10 people, 7 out of 10 people would not be aware of this. So they step out, and people, sometimes they would say that, oh, my spouse registered, I don't really have to register. So all these are awareness. So we need everybody. We need people to spread the word around. We need people to really talk to more. Like I said, every individual can contribute. It's not only people between 18 and 44, the rest of them can reach out to their family members or friends and then talk to them. And this is something which is very, very simple to understand and not a complicated procedure at all to donate compared to other forms of donation, or like organ donation. So this is something which we have to spread out as much as possible.
So one final question, sir. One final question. It's occurring to me. So we said 18 to 44, which is good. But this HLA, whatever the signature of the DNA that you're looking at, does not change for a given person, right? Would it change? It would not.
No, it will not.
So if it is 18 to 44, can we do these cheeks maybe when they are even 12, 15, maybe 10 years later there might be a match, because it doesn't change anyway. Why not we beef this up? Registrations, why only wait till 18?
Well, we want the donors to be of legal age. However, I know that there are discussions among Be the Match staff now that they're going to lower the age range to maybe 16 or 17. So look for that in the next coming months. I think that's going to be a big change. But even if they do that, those young adults still have to consult with their parents and get permission. So if the parents aren't on board, it doesn't really matter if the young adults, 16, 17-year-olds, register. So mom and dad still have to be on board because you still influence your children regardless of their age. So it's important, especially for the South Asian community, that we educate not only the potential donor, but their parents as well, or their extended family, because there is such an influence there. That's really key.
And how does one, this is not just within California, you can anywhere in the States, right? They just go to the bethematch.org to register?
No, you can just you can give us credit. You can text AADP on your phone to 61474.
And
you just register online. They'll send you a link, and then you click on that link, and then the registration form is right there. And then they'll send you a swab kit to your home.
Okay. So it's not just within California, it's anywhere.
Anywhere,
yes.
Correct.
Anywhere.
So wonderful, Carol. Thank you. A lot of information. So certainly, Sim, you are in our community services wing. You are one of our leaders. So we will support it, and then we will see how much we can do to promote at least getting the people to the registry. So Carol, thank you very much. So we will have we'll just take one more minute, and then we will wrap this meeting up, please, for everybody. So so this is the message I have for all the members of our club. So get involved, be active. There are so many avenues where we can make a difference in this world. So many avenues. We have seen one such thing last week. We are seeing one more thing, today, and we have this mindfulness workshop that benefits everybody. You don't have to have a health issue or anything to start on those mindfulness workshops. It's going to help you in more than one way. So take it seriously. And please kindly connect your friends, colleagues, relatives, and neighbors to our club. And we are always looking for ideas, suggestions, and service opportunities. So let us see what we can do from our Rotary Club of Silkanandra. So thank you all for joining today. The next meeting is on Sunday, August 16th, same time. So now I would like to hand it over to Ratnamala Garu to close this meeting with her vote of thanks.
Good evening, Raj Garu and the esteemed guests here, Carol Gillespie. I feel really privileged to give the word of thanks, thanking you for your kind words, and all the ladies and gentlemen that have attended, my fellow Rotarians, past President Anand Kuchpatla Garu, President-elect Priya Tanagula, and our President Raj Garu. So thanks Manoj Joshi Ji Garu for his words. And he runs an extremely wonderful mindfulness workshop, which helps us integrate the knowledge and practice of meditation and breathing techniques so that we can have a physical and mental well-being. And I thank Padma for updating on the shoe drive. I thank Sim Gopalan and Sonia Sidhu for updating on the community services. And Carol, once again, I thank you for giving us much more information on how to help people just by doing a simple swab test and registering on your donor list. And this is really a great opportunity if at all one gets a chance to donate their stem cells, because it helps in life-threatening diseases. Thank you. Thank you once again, everyone. Stay safe, and we meet again the next meeting on August 16th.
Thank you very much, Ratnamala Garu, and I would also want to thank Hung Wee for joining us, our club meeting today. Hung, thank you very much. We are very glad to have you in our meetings. Thank you, and everyone. So let's go and do some great work, and we will meet again on August 16th. Thank you all.